So welcome everyone to the first of a series of podcasts exploring Welsh research funded by the Health and Care Research Wales, focusing on exploring the experience of young people who have experienced local authority care across Wales. I'm Ceryl Davies, I'm a researcher and a lecturer at Bangor University in North Wales, and I'm the project lead for the research.
Hello, I'm Louise Prentergast and I'm a postdoctoral researcher working at Bangor University. I'm working alongside Ceryl, who's leading the project, and my role includes reviewing the literature, what's already known about young people who are care leavers, and conducting interviews with young people and people working within services.
Hi, my name's Sioned Owen and I'm a leaving care officer for Gwynedd 16 Plus team.
Hi, I'm Amy Sinclair. I am the Leaving Care Project Team Leader, Dentista, and the Senior Personal Advisor within the Gwynedd 16 Plus team.
And if I can come to you, Eva?
I'm a care leaver from Conway County.
And Kayla?
Hi, I'm Kayla and I'm a care leaver from Torvine.
Thank you very much for everyone to be part of this podcast. And as I mentioned, this is the first of a series of podcasts which is called Moving Up, Symud I Fyny in Welsh. And this is very much Welsh research across Wales. So it's lovely to have you all here today to discuss this important research with me. The first thing I wanted to kind of discuss was the research is really focusing on how we work with, how we engage with care leavers across Wales, and what are some of the barriers and what are some of the positive aspects of engaging with professionals. So the first question I wanted to explore was around what do we mean when we're talking about working with professionals? What's really easy about that and what's really maybe a bit difficult about working with professionals?
What's easy about it?
Yeah.
I suppose it's the support, knowing that you have someone to talk to. I suppose that's easy, thinking that. I suppose the difficulties about it is how many you can work with. So it can, you don't work with the same individual constantly. There can be multiple people. That's multiple people you have to get to know again, open up to again.
That makes complete sense, Kayla. So all the different workers that you can work with. And I'm just wondering, is that similar to what you see in practice, Sioned and Amy?
Yeah, I think it's the social care is known for a high volume turnover of staff, so it's not necessarily a case of that you'd have the same personal advisor or the same social worker throughout your journey within care or leaving care, which is, I can imagine, is nothing but frustrating for, any young person that's receiving support. I know over the years, working in the field, that a lot of young people get quite frustrated about the turnovers of staff and the different workers that pop in and out of their lives. I think what is difficult within that as well is that, because you're in a certain field doesn't necessarily always mean that you have to put stuff on hold. You've got your personal life, the same as a young person's life involves, a member of staff's lives involves as well within that, isn't it? So it's difficult to get the balance. I'm a strong believer in consistency is key, but it's not always possible in every aspect, is it? But it's definitely what happens in practice. We see it every day.
Yeah, of course. And is that similar to your perspective, or are there any differences that you've seen, Sioned?
I've been quite fortunate in that I've stayed in a role for quite a number of years, and I feel like that has been quite important to a young person because they build that trust and you're part of their story, you're part of their memories and their identity because you remember things that have happened that have been quite significant in their life. And one thing I think is good practice is being able to give them some kind of memory book after you've done a piece of work with them when your kind of journey comes to an end. But I think Gwynedd in general is something that they strive for is consistency, and wherever possible the consistency for that young person and looking at each young person individually and what is best for them as an individual.
Yeah, thanks for your views. And kind of just coming back to your reflection, Kayla, around that consistency, have you had any workers that have been working with you consistently?
Yeah, my PA, my YPA, she's been with me now for about 3 years. So she's the longest worker I've had.
And having that worker for that period of 3 years, has that been different for you?
Yes, because I know that she knows everything that's gone on, so I don't have to keep explaining everything to her. So yeah, it really helps a lot.
And, you know, it's important as part of the discussion that you're kind of sharing that that's really helpful for you, that that's shared, and that we can kind of share that with people who are listening to the podcast around that importance of consistency and building that relationship. And if I can come to you, Eva, around your experiences, are they similar or are they different?
I guess they're similar in the fact of I've got one PA, she's been absolutely amazing, and I've had her since I turned 18. Could not say a bad thing about her, but when I was younger, I was bounced around a lot with different social workers. I've had it very hard to settle with like trying to open up to just one because I had a new one every week.
Yeah. And as you've just kind of mentioned, that those challenges around opening up, and Kayla, you mentioned around that challenge of repeating your story to several people. Can I bring you into the discussion here, Louise, around from the research that you've been doing around what you've been looking at in the international literature on this point? Have you kind of identified any themes around what Eva and Kayla have been discussing around their experiences here?
Yeah, we scoped the literature, the international literature, to have an understanding of what some of the barriers, what made it difficult for care leavers to engage with services, and some of the enablers, what made it a bit easier for people to engage with services. And very much what's been said already, person-centred approaches, a flexible approach which was tailored to the young people, was seen as enabling support. Continuity of support was really important in the literature. It contributed to young people to participate in services, with support being offered for as long as possible without the fear of it being stopped. And trust was very important as well. So the young person felt that they had to be able to establish trust with a professional, and that could take time.
That's great. And kind of building on that theme of trust, can I come to you first, Amy and Sioned? How do you work with young people to kind of build that trust?
I think it's about giving time to get to know them and maybe opening up, letting them get to know you a little bit as well. I think that's really important, so that barrier of, young person, professional isn't solid sort of thing, that you do have open discussions like, okay, so what sort of films do you like, get to know that young person, but allowing them to get to know you as well as a person. I think that's something that I've always found, in my role, that helps with young people. And being patient with time. Don't expect them to open up and tell you their whole life story and any difficulties, any struggles that they're having on your first meeting. You need to trust them that when they're ready, they will come to you. I think the trust works both ways in it as well. If you're patient and consistent with them, I think it develops over time.
And Sioned, what about your experiences?
Yeah, I agree with Amy that, trust is something very important, and that you do have to work on getting somebody's trust. And I think the important things for me is that they're able to have their voice heard, and you are there to help ensure that their voice is heard and they feel listened to. And for me personally, more than anything, they do feel cared for, because they are important. They are an individual, and get to know them as a person, not just reading a file, but them as an individual and as a person, and being respectful really to them, especially as they turn 18. They have rights to make their own choices and decisions, to make mistakes in their life. It doesn't mean that it's the end, and that you are there not to replace a parent, but to be there for them as a parent would, and not giving up and sticking with them in there when they celebrate and when they, when things are not going so great. So yeah, I think that also links in with the trust part, in that you are there as consistent person.
No, that's great. Thanks, Sioned. And kind of coming to Eva and Kayla, around your experiences, have you felt that you've had the opportunity to build a trustful relationship with the workers that you've had supporting you?
Yes, definitely. But the one I got now, my PA, obviously I've had her for 3 years. It took me a very long time to actually meet her. To be honest, we emailed for a lot because I weren't ready to like meet her or anything. But after like about 6 months, maybe a bit less, I ended up trusting her a lot more. And now she's like the first person I go to for anything. Like when I found out that I got my flat a couple of weeks ago, she was the first person I messaged, and she's helped me with everything. So yeah, I think trust is big, and I definitely got that with my current PA.
And you've kind of explained that relationship as developing over time, starting with that connection over email and then being kind of, would you describe it as your go-to person?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, with your go-to person. I've got a flat, key milestone, and then that go-to person that you connect with.
Yeah, it's pretty much, yeah.
Oh, that's a really important example for showing that kind of trust and relationship and how that builds over time. Thanks for sharing, Kayla. I really appreciate that. And Eva, what has your experience looked like with regards to that trusting element within relationships?
Well, my PA, Becky, she was always really lovely when, like, even since she first took on my file from when I turned 18. But when I first started out being 18, I thought, I don't need support from anyone. I can do this on my own. I completely just went MIA for about 6 months. My foster care didn't know where I was. My PA didn't know where I was. My phone was broken. Nobody knew where I was. And then one time I'm like, you know what? I need help. I am not doing this rodeo on my own anymore. I am not doing a good job of what I'm doing. I am miserable, and I'm just tired of it. So I messaged her back, and then she phoned me, and she's like, right, we'll do a phone call tomorrow, just to see how things can get on. But she's been lovely to me since day one. I had no reason to hate her, but it was just me being headstrong and 18, like, nah, I can do everything on my own, going off into the world and doing my own thing. But I realised after a while, like, I need that support. But because she stuck with it, she didn't just thought, oh, this shit. She'd message me every day, 3 days a week, when she was in. She was like, right, I'm here if you need me, I'm here if you need me, and yeah, if you need me. And that perseverance, it's like, I will trust her. I'll trust her with anything. And like Kayla said with her flat, any little thing that happens, I'm like, look, I got this. I've done stuff. Like she'd been nagging me to get my ID sorted for years, and I finally got it sorted this year. And she goes, all right, I'm going to buy you a coffee then.
Ah,
She's like, it's about damn time.
yeah. And you've kind of touched on really important points there around perseverance, patience, kind of the themes that Louise was discussing from the literature as well, and building that relationship over time. One key point that Louise raised from the literature was having that kind of person-centred support. And if I can again kind of come to both of you, Eva and Kayla, around, do you feel that you've had that person-centred support?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also on the other side, are there any examples where you feel that that support hasn't been person-centred?
I'd say the only time I'd say that kind of stuff's happening is when she's on annual leave. The duty PA system is shambles. Like, just try. The phone number changes every day. First of all, in my county, I don't know if it's the same everywhere else. Phone number changes every day. So you're telling me I've got to ring up to get the actual number, ring the office, and then get this phone number. Okay, I'll try and ring them. They're always busy, so they never answer the phone. And then every single day, say if you need a problem like solving, like I need help. My gas is gone. Like it's gone off, and I don't know what's going on. and just need a bit of support trying to sort this out because I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, you have to talk to every different person every single time you want to ring. And usually they don't sort it anyway. If you come with the problem, they're like, there's not much we can do. And it's like...
Yeah, I agree with Eva. It's like a lot of PAs don't work on the weekend, so you have to contact out of hours if something can happen. And obviously before living on my own, I was living with other people, and if I were to get kicked out on the weekend, there was nothing I could do about it because they couldn't put me anywhere. So they just basically tell you, have a cup of tea, your work will be in Monday or something like that. So that's like, yeah, only times when they're not in work.
If I ever hear someone say, just have a cup of tea again in my goddamn life, I swear. Ooh.
So that kind of advice is, no, I don't need a cup of tea, actually.
No,
Yeah.
I need help.
You need that help, you need that support. And kind of a key message I'm hearing is around consistency and is around that flexible support. And you kind of mentioned, Kayla, around having that support as well, kind of out of hours. That's really kind of important to hear those messages. And linking in with your roles, Amy and Sioned, is that consistency and that flexible support, including out of hours, something that you kind of come across?
We do have our mobiles, which all young people have our mobile numbers to get hold of us. We also have a Facebook page, and we have an app that has any numbers that they would need to be able to contact for lots of different agencies should there be an emergency. So it's a signposting kind of information place that young people should be able to get the help and support they need from the app in any given situation.
And is that something that you've got access to, Eva and Kayla, around having that kind of flexible support through the apps or useful out of hours numbers?
No, I don't believe that I have that. Obviously, my worker's got a mobile, and we got her number, but obviously when she's on leave, she tends to obviously switch her work phone off because, she's out of work. But like I said, we have out of hours. They're not the great, they're not the best, to be honest.
So that flexible support is really important. And you were giving some options there, Sioned, around maybe how that flexible support can be kind of catered and how that can be provided. And Amy, is there anything that you'd like to add there around that flexible support?
No, I think I agree with Sioned. I think, from our perspective, I think most workers, especially within our team at Gwynedd, I think we do our very best to provide, that flexibility to young people. I find it really interesting listening to, Kayla and Eva around that topic because it's a different perspective, listening to it from young people. I know I practice a case of, yes, if I'm still on a visit at 5:00, I don't turn to a young person and go, sorry, my working hours are over. I'll stay there for as long as they need me to stay there. I'll travel across the country to see them if that's what they want, if that's what they need from me. Going back to that person-centered approach, I think in any role and any job, I think it's impossible to have one person working 7 days a week. And I'm sure Eva and Kayla absolutely appreciate that. They clearly think very highly of their YPA, and it's really good to hear. I guess that's why stuff like out of hours, duty and stuff is available. Like Sioned touched on, in Gwynedd, we do have the apps as well with relevant numbers that young people are able to use and, signpost on to if for any reason that, their work is not available. But I think flexibility is important. And I think a lot of people do try their best with that as well, yeah.
No, that makes complete sense. And I think your views, Sioned and Amy, really links in with what Kayla and Eva were explaining about their experiences. And you've clearly highlighted the positives with both your PAs, but it's really also important to listen to what aspects of services need to be developed and improved. And kind of coming to you, Louise, based on maybe what you've reviewed in the literature, but also I know that you've been interviewing young people. Is there anything that you've kind of read or something that you've heard from the young people around that person-centred support and also that flexible support?
Yeah, so definitely the person-centred support has come across as being really important, because you're getting to know that individual, and obviously the young person is getting to know the professional staff member, the social worker or the PA. So it works both ways. Both people need to get to know each other. And obviously not one size fits all. And also it's that patience and the consistency and persistency as well, because as was spoken about earlier, young people might not feel that they want to engage with a service at a particular time. So you just need to know that that support's there. And so the literature discusses transformational moments of realization by young people that actually I do want to engage with a service now. Therefore, that service has to be there. The support has to be there. And workers obviously need to have that persistence and patience.
And you've just mentioned that transformational support, and that's something that you've kind of explained, Eva, around that milestone of changing 18 and then reaching that point of when you kind of made that decision for yourself, I want and need support now. Is that something that anyone else has seen or experienced, that kind of milestone of 18 and that transformational point?
To be fair, I've been pretty open with all the support, even when I did turn 18. I suppose when I turned 18, I still had the same PA. So my PA got introduced to me when I was 17 or 16-ish. So she was obviously still my PA when I turned 18. I'm 19 now, and obviously she's still my PA. So I was still accepting the support from her when turning 18. But I did go a bit more independent with stuff.
And do you mind if I ask you, Kayla, around that introduction of your PA before you turned 18, did that make a difference to you?
When I got introduced to my PA, I was getting introduced to loads of people at the same time. Like I said before, it took me a while to actually, let her in. But at the same time, I was getting introduced to like new social workers as well, and then obviously my PA, and then other things were going on. So I suppose it was a good time when she did come in, because it probably was the toughest time. So it was good when she came in when she did, and not when I did turn 18. But yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that experience, Kayla. I really appreciate and listening to your views is really important. As Amy was saying, we work in a professional role, but it's more than that professional role. It's that support, it's that building that relationship, as Louise was saying, with persistency and patience over time. And Eva, around that kind of experience for you, was it similar or was it different to Kayla's experiences?
So I had a normal social worker up until my 18th birthday, and then my PA took over from there. But there was like a 6 months period where my social worker would come, like say, come do a visit, but then my PA would come at the same time. So they'd both be there to come do the home visits to make sure we were good. We'd have a chat in the living room, then we always went to the bedroom so we can have like our own chat, and then go back down. Blah, blah. She'll write some stuff down, she'll leave, and then she kind of just like sat in and watched how that was all going on. I guess that was to kind of get me used to her there, because I'm a that was a big thing about change with me growing up. Like, I don't do change. I don't like change. I don't like things being different. When I got told that I was going to get somebody different than my social worker, I kicked off, sort of thing. Even though I didn't even like my social worker. I hate her. But just the thought that something was going to change, I was like, not having in it. But then I turned 18 and everything changed. So I was like, everything won't go. I didn't want to know anybody. I thought I could do everything. So I was like, no way, I can do it by myself. But I learned very quickly, I can't do everything by myself. When you're 18, you are not invincible. You do not rule the world. If you get offered help, take the help.
I think you've given some really important advice there. I think I can also put my hand up and think when I was 18, I felt that I was invincible and quickly learned that I wasn't. So, and it's that turning point. And was there anything in particular that kind of really made that turning point for you, Eva, around, right, I'm going to, I want and I need support now?
Well, I said I'd gone MIA for a good 6 months. Nobody knew where I was. My phone was broken, so I couldn't contact anybody. I was living with, by that point, he was my ex-partner, but we were together. I was staying in his flat, and things were just miserable. I was basically a chambermaid. All I did was clean, and I lived above where I worked, so I'd work downstairs, then go back up to the flat. I would have finished my shift. All hell would break loose because we're arguing because I haven't done the dishes, or I haven't done a load of laundry, or I haven't done this, and I haven't done this, and I haven't done that. And then they'd be like, all right, well, do you want to, because he was my manager, I was like, well, do you want to give me my wages then? And then I think about it. So it caused a lot of strain on the relationship. So inevitably we did end up breaking up, but I still lived with him for a good 2 months. I was like, look, I'm miserable. I'm not registered with the GP. I don't know how to do it. I'm unwell. I've got this going on with me. I had septic pneumonia at the time, so I couldn't do anything with myself. So I was like, right, I'm gonna sort my life out. I'm sick of physically and emotionally being in pain. I am completely sick of going hungry every day. I'm sick of the flat always being cold because I can't afford it. I'm going to sort it out. And the first step was moving out of his house.
So that changing relationships.
Yeah.
And that would have taken a lot of strength to make that change. 100%. And, thanks for sharing that experience around that change and kind of linking in with that transformational change of 18. Sioned and Amy, is that something that you've seen in practice?
Absolutely, I'd say. I think, over the years, I think it's really important, I believe, to try and get, your PA introduced before they turn 18. Again, just to build that relationship up slowly, give time, that they're not an unfamiliar person and that it's not 18, no social work 18 PA, if that makes sense. But definitely, I think we're all guilty of it, turning 18. Again, like you said as well, Ceryl, I thought I was invincible when I was 18. I didn't need help. I didn't need this. I could do it all myself. I'm an adult now. But again, I think that's why it is important to maybe introduce your PA earlier on, just so that if that does happen, and then 6 months later, a year later, that young person feels comfortable enough to come back to you and meant, I'm really sorry, this has happened, can you help me please? I think it's really important that that's available. I know I've experienced it in practice a lot. And I think it's important for a young person to know that it's okay if that's what happens as well. It's okay if you want to take a step back from me. I appreciate that you want to live your life your way. Just know I am here if and when you need me at the end of it. I think that's what's important.
No, that's great. Thanks. Thanks, Amy. And Sioned, what's about your experiences of this?
Yeah, I feel that it's all, we try and look what's going on for that young person or what suits that young person with the introduction and the timing of that, really. Because I think it can be overwhelming. Like Kayla has said, she had a lot of different people at that time in her life when she was being introduced. And, it is a big transition for young people in care when they turn 18. And sometimes I do feel that as care leavers, they have to grow up quicker and take responsibilities that other young people don't have to have necessarily if they live within a secure family, and decisions that are tough to make as well at a young age. Where will you live? What will you do? All these different things. They are big decisions that make a path for you, the way your life goes. So yeah, I think a transition is massive when you're a young person leaving care, so to speak. And I fully admire them, and I feel like they are incredible young people, and I really feel privileged to support them in my role.
Yeah. Oh, it's lovely to hear that, Sioned, and I would really fully agree with you. From my background in social work, I agree. Admire that kind of really robustness and the the kind of strength it takes around really making key changes in your life at an accelerated or at an earlier age. As Sioned was saying, around that acceleration, having to grow up faster, having to make really key life-changing decisions at an earlier age. Is that something that you felt and experienced at all?
Yes, a lot. Even like way before 16 as well. But before I ended up going into the care system, my living arrangements, I was technically the parent, let's say, in my household. So that was hard enough at the age of 14. But then when I left, and then went into the care system, I still obviously I only moved with one of my siblings, and I still felt that, responsible parent role for them. And then, having to decide then if I wanted to stay where I was staying or if I wanted to go somewhere else, and then deciding about my education as well, where to go, what to do for that. And then, yeah. So, yeah, a lot.
So a lot, and key decisions as well, Kayla. And is that very similar or different for you, Eva?
Growing up in the care system, I didn't really have that many responsibilities. Because the background we came from, I don't know anything other than the care system. I was too young. I don't remember anything. I obviously know who my parents are, and I remember some little snippets like Christmas or a birthday, but I don't remember much. I don't know. Care life has been my normal.
Yeah.
Which is very strange when I explain it to other people, because I'm so like, oh yeah, I've been in care my whole life, and everyone else is like, oh, it must be so sad. Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. What do you want more? But if anything, I was guaranteed a roof over my head and food in my stomach and the heating bills on.
So positives.
Yeah.
Positives, yeah.
And I was lucky they did move me with my twin sister as well, because I know full well if they split us up, my mum would have caused hell. She caused hell anyway. But
Well, I've really enjoyed listening to the research, the professional, and also that kind of everyday lived experiences of this topic of how do we engage with young people effectively and to offer that support in a person-centred way. And what I've kind of heard from the discussion today is around that importance of trust, persistence, consistency, and that really building that relationship. So just as a final point now, I'd really like to come to everyone individually and just see what kind of key advice would you like to give other care leavers around what they need to look for in a really good professional relationship. What advice do you want to give to the professionals out there? And if I can come to you first, Amy, if that's okay.
Oh, be patient, 100% be patient with it. Be consistent with what you're giving them, the advice that you're giving them and the support that you're offering. And I think if you are willing to be patient and give that consistency, I think, yeah, you could go far.
That's great. Thanks, Amy. Sioned?
I think for me is that determination and not to give up on that young person no matter what, that you can be that support for them in helping them succeed in life, and that trust is very important and key to that.
Brill, thanks, Sioned. That's brilliant. And Louise?
Well, something that's come across in the interviews is the feeling that you're being listened to. So some young people have been saying, well, if I'm not being listened to, what's the point of me talking? And then they might just switch off if they don't feel like they're being listened to.
That's great. Thanks, Louise. And if I can come to you, Eva?
just give your PA or somebody a chance to help you before you decide, oh, it's not worth speaking to this person. Just sit it out a year. Give them a year. If it doesn't work out, you know it's not working out, try somebody else. But try for a year.
Okay, so I think that's sound advice, Eva. And if I can come to you, Kayla?
Pretty much the same as Eva. Just give your PA a chance, and accept the support when you know it's there.
That's lovely. Thank you, everyone. That's sound advice around that giving a chance and persistency, trust and relationships, listening relationships. Thank you very much for listening to our podcast today. Do look out for our next podcast, which will be further exploring this research project across Wales, which is exploring the barriers and the enablers to engagement with young people who are care leavers. Thank you. This research is led by Bangor University in partnership with our fantastic partners from GISTA, Gwynedd County Council, Conwy County Borough Council, Ynys Môn Council and Torfaen Council. And we would like to thank Health and Care Research Wales for funding this all Wales research.